Right, let's crack into our interview this week. It's with Owen Williams, who's worked as an infrastructure engineer at Xero and Frond, and then he moved into marketing and communications and the front-end dev at the startup called Hoist. He also writes about technology for the Next Web, AppStorm, and on NBR. Fantastic, we're in. So after, how many bars have we tried to get into, guys?
5, I believe.
Yeah.
5?
Is this the fifth one?
The fifth one.
Yep. Fifth one we finally found on a rainy, wet Tuesday, Wednesday, what day is it?
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, Wellington.
No, it's not Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. We finally found a bar where we could go and sit in and be nice and quiet.
Thank you, Bangalore Polo Club.
Yes, with Owen Williams.
Hello.
This is correct. Owen has very kindly said, yeah, I'll do the podcast, even though we've just discovered that he's not a podcast listener.
I'm sorry. I'll get into it eventually.
Fine. So I was just getting some context around, where you've been. So, Owen, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do now? Where can people find you? We'll do that later, actually. And tell us again, you were at Frond. I was at Frond. When was that?
So I started there fresh out of uni. Well, actually part way through uni as an intern. 2010, I think. I don't know. I struggle to remember.
Decades ago.
Working in the support desk. I know. Everybody does it. Yeah. But and after a couple of years of working in the support desk, I moved into the network ops team. It seems like one of those things that you kind of just do. Like, oh, network engineering. That sounds fun.
Not to me, it doesn't. But okay.
I mean, it was kind of interesting. It's like putting out other people's fires. But it turns out putting out other people's fires isn't that much fun after a while. So after I did that for a little while, I joined Xero as a network engineer.
Can I just ask about their internship? So I know that Frond have had that going for a long time, which is excellent. Mm-hmm. One of the few companies that actually have actively gone to universities and said, we want to pick the cream of the crop, which is an excellent thing to do. What did you do at university?
It was like Bachelor of IT, I think. Bachelor of Information Technology.
What was it like going and work on the help desk?
Interesting.
That word, interesting.
I mean, I think it is a good place to start. You kind of, and I think their kind of policy was that you start there because you see the front line of what's going on. Like, you actually have to deal with people before moving up to the higher tiers where you don't actually deal with the angry person. You just get a ticket from the angry person.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience. I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
But it's something I think almost every uni student should go through at some point, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Yeah. This is what it's like for those people who have to deal with the computers that you're trying to make.
Can't install Office. Oh my god.
Yes. All right, I had today.
I shouldn't really have a computer.
I saw someone said, "Can you send me a screenshot?" This guy claimed he worked in IT a long time ago, and emailed me back saying, "Oh, what was it? The screenshot you wanted of? And how do I do a screenshot?" And I was like,
No.
Yeah. I just stared at the words for a minute, thinking, "No, he's winding me up."
You'd be surprised. I would get pictures of people taking photos of their computer with a phone. And then uploading it, and then, they actually figured out how to upload it and send it to me, as opposed to taking...
Put it into Word. That's what I used to get.
They always
put it into Word and send the Word document. Okay. But that's the reality of computers in
that's
business.
how I used to get high-res photos sent to me for print work. It was in a Word document. I fling it right back at them.
Oh, that's
it's not
great.
going to work,
Sorry, so you went through the
Cadetship program, they called it. Yes.
That's good, and all power to Frond for doing that. I mean, I know Internship do something similar as well.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. I think they, I think especially now they fight a lot of the companies in Wellington at least fight over the different interns because there's not that many of us, I suppose.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, the class sizes probably weren't as big as they are now, I would say.
How many in your class?
The first year or two was like less than 50 kids overall.
Wow.
But it started getting pretty full by the end. Like, I remember they hit the newspaper for overfilling classrooms.
Oh, I see.
Just churning them out, like switch
yeah.
People, Well, we've talked, and one of the reasons I asked about that was we've talked a lot about the reported, and I'm experiencing it in a place at the moment, the reported lack of IT skills in, well, we live in Wellington, but it's a New Zealand thing.
Everywhere.
So it's interesting to just hear your story coming out of it, and I hope it changes. And then you went to the one that we always talk about, which is the one that's sucking up all the IT skills in this town, particularly.
Hoovering them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Xero.
So I joined Big Blue. for a little while.
It's the new Big Blue. I like it.
No. It's funny, I actually tried to join the company a few times, but they're so overwhelmed with applicants that it's easy to get drowned, I suppose, in the thing. So I was like, I think I applied 3 times for the role I saw, and I was like, this is shit, it's not working. So I emailed Rod.
Awesome.
So don't do this. But I emailed him and I said, hey Rod, I'm really awesome and I've had trouble with your careers department. Can you, just refer me from the inside? I'd love to work there. Next day I got a phone call from a very irate person in the HR team saying, the CEO just came over here and told me that you emailed him and that you had trouble with the process. And I'm like, well, I didn't get a reply. So
well, fair enough.
Hey,
and then, within a matter of weeks I was working there. So it was pretty cool.
You say don't do that. I don't know.
So there's the tip, eh?
Well, yeah, it won't work. It
tomorrow.
won't work if everybody emails.
That's true.
Rod.
It then just floods Rod's email address, and then he puts the filter on, and no one
get
gets
an
to
irate
see
Rod.
it.
Yeah. So they
Good.
they
Think
seem-
outside the square, though.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the logic I figured is like the worst that can happen is he'll see it and delete it because he gets it all the time. But it turns out he doesn't get it all the time because everybody's too scared of him.
Yeah.
For example.
Someone's going to
Yes.
fight now.
So, I worked there for a year, which was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And then I was approached by somebody I used to work with at Xero, who had also left, who invited me to join a startup that they were kind of going out on called Hoist, which is a platform as a service type offering. And I actually politely declined because I was very happy at Xero. I loved it there, drinking the startup Kool-Aid. But after thinking about it quite a lot and, kind of considering, could I do this? It's a bit risky joining a startup. Should I do it? And I was like, nah, these guys are doing cool stuff. So why the hell not? And did it.
Awesome.
So it's been great ever since. Terrifying, but great.
Yes. Hanging on to the tail of the tiger.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, you're in fairly good hands with Owen. Owen 2.
Yep.
Do you have Owen 1 and Owen 2?
Yeah, so
You A or B,
he's
what?
Owen and I'm Al because of the Twitter handle.
Yes,
so
yes.
that seems to be the easiest way to differentiate.
Very cool.
But we have a lot of people emailing him by accident and instead of me and vice versa and all that good stuff. So
Well, accidentally getting the CEO's emails coming.
yeah. So it's
That
it's
wanker
good.
down at Al hasn't got back to my job application.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any way you could...
So it's great. It's kind of interesting building a company from the bottom because I wanted to work somewhere where I felt like I could steer the ship as opposed to being part of the machine at a bigger company. And I mean, it's certainly the complete opposite because you have like a comfort zone in a startup, in a bigger company like Xero. They've got funding. They're pretty well off. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
At a startup, you're kind of going by the skin of your pants.
Yes.
That's right.
But it's good. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to take that risk while you can, I suppose.
And then, sort of not... Well, I don't know. Out of that, when did you suddenly appear on everybody's Twitter sphere? And would that have been during Xero?
That's a
There was,
very good question.
it was a sort of a ramp up. You appeared
Yes, I did
with
appear.
20 million followers. It was like, where's he been?
I think it's just kind of happened over the years. So we'll go right back to the beginning of that. So happening in parallel with Frond, I picked up writing for a site called neowin.net, which is a Windows rumours and all sorts of stuff kind of website. I got given a chance by a guy there by the name of Tom Warren, who works for The Verge now. He was like, "Oh, you can write for us." I had never written anything outside a uni essay before.
So you knew how? What they saw you on the street one day? And said,
Oh, well, they had like, apply to be a writer. You need to be able to write coherently. Was pretty much the requirement. I was like, I can write coherently. So I applied, and he was like, "Yep, you can join." And so over the space of the time I was at Frond, I was actually writing on the side doing that thing.
Yep.
And they gave us, I mean, it was awesome. So they're actually a pretty big site, despite how it may appear. So I actually went to, what's it called? A Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas with them. That was one hell of a week.
CES.
Yeah. So that was a hell of a week. A week in Vegas covering tech, so that was great. And stuff like that. So it's been really cool to get connected and all that. So I got all the connections that way and all this kind of thing. And then I started getting offered freelance work over the next year with a site called The Next Web.
Yeah.
and they weren't looking for part-time writers at the time, but they were like, oh, you can do this article or this article, and so they'd have various things. And I guess eventually I won them over enough for them to hire me on as weekend editor. So on Sundays I get out of bed at a horrific hour, about 5:30, to do one shift a week to cover their stuff for the weekend, because it's actually, New Zealand's quite a good time zone for it, believe it or not, because you cover both the US shift and the UK half and half, so it's quite good.
Well, as Richard McManus would tell you.
Yeah, exactly, right? You can make a news company from Wellington.
Yes.
And so I kind of run the weekend side of things with them.
So you still do that?
Yep. So I do it every weekend. It's very tiring, but it's good.
Yeah.
I guess I just met people through that, and you're definitely right. It has hockey sticked on Twitter a little bit. Might break 5,000 soon, I think.
Wicked.
I don't know. It's not Twitter fame, but for New Zealand maybe.
Oh yeah.
I'll catch up to Rod one day.
You define your pond to be as big as you need it to be the biggest fish in it.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm the biggest, most well-known person in Burma.
There you
Well
go.
done. Yeah, you're right.
And that's all I want.
I'll take Tiara then.
There you go. She's all yours.
Yeah. So it was really cool though. So I was recently in San Francisco and I met up with all the different writers from the area and all that kind of stuff. TechCrunch and all these big things. So it's a cool thing to run on the side because it kind of works in tandem. It means that you're learning
Is it like two careers almost? Is it like is there a different field from one to the other?
I kind of so at Hoist I'm kind of head of marketing / front end development, and at the Next Web I'm obviously weekend editor. And I find at the moment they complement each other quite well because I get to know the writers that maybe would cover my startup.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I also learn the stuff that matters to when I'm writing about things. So a lot of these writers don't know how to code. They don't know how to build a company. So I'm actually doing something that they can't do. So it's kind of like living a double life. I would say they're definitely two different careers. My current judgment is that you cannot make much of money in journalism. Unless somebody figures it out.
Fuck, there goes the podcast.
That's the whole point of it.
Never mind. We've had a nice beer.
I have ideas, but I guess what I'm saying is the current ideas aren't sustainable. You can't run an entire site off advertising forever.
Yeah.
I suspect. And you can see, I hate to say it, but you can see sites like The Verge, who started out as really technology focused websites, turning into we want you to click our headline websites. So it's interesting balance.
Yeah, the new design, you can see that straight away.
Yeah.
The new design,
exactly. So
big words and blocks.
I think potentially one day, but I don't know if it would be very easy to cover everything in the States from New Zealand. Yeah, I'm not sure. As you said, Richard McManus did it, so...
Well, to be fair, he did it from Tony, but he did it by having a team.
Yeah, he had a team in San Francisco.
He did it for himself for a number of years, but then it grew and grew, and it was always over there. And it's all different.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yeah.
I don't know if lightning can hit twice or three times, but
I think
in that particular way.
I think the value would be in doing something completely different, though. So you could build another tech site, but that's not going to go anywhere. Everybody's had enough of just gadget reviews.
Yes.
If you could do
Yes, they have. Raj, yes.
Yeah.
I love gadget
Same old
reviews.
thing.
Everybody loves looking at slabs of phone, but
Exactly.
but
The slab.
I think if you could present it in a very different way, or make it so that users can collaborate with you, or I haven't thought about it too much, but if you could do it in a way that nobody else is doing it, I think absolutely you could do it better.
Because these things, tech is so important in everyone's life.
Yeah, it's on the nightly news now.
Yes,
Oh,
well,
I couldn't believe that.
what was the lightning news we had?
Well, last week it was Treadmills slide, but it was still a tech story according to
New
the
Zealand
mainstream
tech
media.
story,
Yeah,
Exactly.
classed as a tech story. Yeah, watch out for what pants you wear though.
Because you might slip off. We understand what's the Raj watched it. We reported that on last week, only that's the level of tech reporting in New Zealand is.
Yes, it's
So anything we do is much better.
it's atrocious. Yeah,
Don't slide too fast off the slide.
I saw them installing that thing. Actually, it was quite impressive. They hoisted it in with a crane right down the middle of the building. It was
cool.
pretty intense.
We'll give it a go soon, next few weeks.
My daughter always still, because the Trading just moved.
Yeah,
Zero
it's the building
Trading.
next to the Zero.
Yeah, and I was in there. I took my daughter along for a come find out what Dad does for a day.
Yeah.
So she just followed me to all the meetings, and one happened to be in Trade Me, and she was just so impressed. The slide. So when she drives past, that's what the slide is.
It's very fancy.
That's what the
It's
slide
very, very fancy.
I should tell her now.
Yeah.
Bigger, faster, harder. There we
I
go.
don't know.
So what's your view then? How was that for a segue? On the New Zealand startup scene from, and you're in a delightful position.
Yep.
To be able to go as a startup and also as someone who looks at it.
It's a difficult question to answer. I mean,
I can give you the answer. Right?
Well,
It's in the back.
I'll see if I can answer it correctly.
Nice.
I think it's better than it was, and I think that is thanks to a lot of the companies like Xero and TradeMe who essentially have generated startup people for us. You know, like they've made a few millionaires out of them, and now those guys are going out and starting their own companies. So that
It's a
they've
startup
actually
training school.
Well, yeah, but it's how it's starting. You can see that these
Creating the ecosystem.
yeah, they're actually giving people the money to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I think the biggest problem we have, and I've noticed around the place, and we actually just published a post on our blog about this, is that it's really easy to think small in New Zealand. Like, you think about reaching a niche, but you don't think about exactly how big that is. Because so we travelled to the US recently, and we're like, oh, we're going to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And they're like, well, that's a bit too much. And it's because in the US, that small amount of people is actually a crap load of people. Like, 1% of the market there is still a lot of market.
Yeah.
And I think that we often try to do either too much or too little without thinking of this global stage outside of New Zealand.
So too little I can get, I suppose. Think.
Yeah, so
Or too much? No, too much I can get.
yeah,
Because that's the.
I think
we
more
have
too
to-
much. Yeah,
We have to put everything into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we don't put all
because
the
we want to
features
get
in-
everybody using it.
Yeah.
Because in New Zealand,
Yes.
there's only so many people,
That's
so you
right.
can put everything in.
So the goal is to get everyone, because it's
Yeah.
only 4 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what kind of we learn is like we're talking to our friends, but actually we're talking to all the people we know here,
So-
getting ideas.
So being very specific and
Yeah.
very the best in that one
right,
thing
absolutely.
is absolutely fine.
Yeah, so that's kind of my observation at the moment. I find it quite interesting, these new incubators that have kind of popped up. So like Lightning Lab, pretty cool. A little bit trying to go for the very cool hip startup angle in their messaging, which I don't like so much. I'm sure that some listeners would have seen the fight between Dave Moskovitz and Rowan Simpson recently on Twitter about...
We talked about that.
Yeah.
I lean towards Rowan, just so you know.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
But yeah, it's more about being real with people and being like, hey, actually startups are really like fucking hard.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
That's right.
We love French.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. It's not all roses. Some days you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, who's going to buy this thing?
Yes.
And they like to give off the image that it's a lot easier than it seems. So I think that New Zealand also gives them a lot of potential to succeed as well, though, because it's a lot easier to make a company here. Because what's the worst that happens if you fail in New Zealand?
Go start another one. Go somewhere else.
It's not so bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like, the government will help you if you're really in a really horrible position.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the US, where you'd probably be homeless if
Yes.
your startup went under. So it's quite an interesting contrast. But then again, you have the problem that to get capital here, it's really difficult as well. You're probably going to have to give away a lot of yourself unless you go to somebody else. So there's a lot of different parallels to that. It's a hard question to answer. I think we're doing a lot of things right. I think there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think in Wellington particularly, though, over the last year, it's been ridiculous. Like, there's been heaps popping up that I've never heard of all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Compared to before, it was like Xero and TradeMe and Intergen and, all those big kind of names.
Waveadept. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good.
You're laughing, Raju.
Because there's 3 of you.
Yeah. 5.
Oh, it's a
9 at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, 9 too.
That's right. We wouldn't let them talk to you. There were interns on the help desk. We weren't allowed.
Typical.
We all came
just
from
made fun of
front.
them.
Oh, there you
There
go.
we go. That's
Oh, yeah.
quite bizarre.
So that's another training school.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you talk about that. I use the word ecosystem. The big boys can generate that ecosystem, and just by being who they are, and people leave, like both the Owens left. You just leave because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But as long as you can keep them in that geographical area, and New Zealand, I count, then they will generate more and more, and away we go. I think you're right that in the last year or two, that I'll say treadmills wrong way. That cycle has started to happen of the big boys losing some people, and they're starting to do their own stuff. And in Auckland as well, specifically, I've noticed that a lot of smaller startups. It's possibly where Wellington, I would have classified Wellington to be probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Auckland. It's happening at a greater pace and a bigger volume. It's a third of the country lives there, so of course it would be.
Yeah.
That'll be fascinating to see where that's in 2 years. I mean, all it takes is a zero to happen in Auckland, and that will be matched to that liquid. And we're all looking at Vend to be that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, you're almost spoilt for choice looking for startups to work for in New Zealand. I mean, it's hard to say some of them are startups anymore. But then again,
survivalists.
you have the problem that those big companies, the big startups, are stealing all the talent for themselves.
Well, there is that, yes.
It's like, really?
Generating demand.
Yes,
They can afford to do the
It's
whole
great
recruitment
being
process,
in demand.
Yes.
It's not so great for anybody else, but yeah.
Well, I think the issue there is what have kids been taught, and how quickly can they be useful to a company.
Yeah, I think that universities here struggle a little bit with computing. Like, Welltech was an interesting one because it was alright. It was pretty good, but they weren't up with the times. Like, it wasn't. Like, we learned freaking Visual Basic in 2009. Like, I know people that learned that in 1999. Like,
yes.
So it's
me and Raj are putting our hands up there.
Yeah,
that's what we did. Yeah.
And so why can't they update it and say, "Oh, we're going to teach these guys Ruby on Rails"?
Yeah.
It's the new thing to do.
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. So I'm not sure. It's an interesting
They
conundrum.
tend to move very slowly. They tend to be, and it's not 5 years behind. That's
yeah.
It's
worse.
It's worse. I agree.
My favoritist. That's not a word. My favorite lecturer was a guy who taught us C++ in on a OHP projector. He actually wrote it all down. He compiled it in his head, and to take the test, you actually wrote it all down and you compiled it in your head. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever.
Nothing happens when you hit run. Nothing happens.
And if you think about the younger people coming into these universities these days, they probably had a little bit of exposure to coding, even just a little bit on the side. So coming into that environment, they're just like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at this thing and you're like, well, this isn't a screen.
I can do this at home.
Yeah. I'm not going to run.
But I wouldn't do this at home. I use a screen.
I use a computer. It does it for me.
That's right.
And so the other universities have a similar problem. So Vic has mostly Java students because that's what they choose to do. Massey down here didn't even do a comp sci paper when I was looking. I actually really wanted to go to Massey and they discontinued it because apparently there wasn't enough interest. And I was like,
well,
what?
No, that could be true. The demand and the supply.
Well, yeah.
Demand for something doesn't necessarily mean that everyone rushes towards it.
Right. But it makes it really interesting when you look at it from a hiring perspective. For companies, for Xero, for example, we went through the Summer of Tech program where they try to hire interns, and you're like, you ask some of these guys at this thing, and you're like, what languages have you played with? Like, what have you played with anything at home? And they're like, I learned Java at uni, and I'm like, okay, have you heard of anything else? Oh no, I've never heard of anything else.
Wow.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
They're getting better, so I've heard that Python is in there now, which is kind of better, and they're adding other stuff, but it's an interesting
It is, isn't it?
problem
There's
to
two
have.
parts. There's two there. If you're going to be in an industry,
They teach them how to think.
Love it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why do it?
Yeah.
But also they need to be exposed to, because you don't know what you don't know.
I can see the logic for going for something like Java or C++ because you actually do learn the fundamentals. But why can't they teach them in second or third year a Ruby on Rails course or .NET?
I noticed that resource is an issue for that tertiary stuff. We had the same problem. I was learning stuff like the Photoshops and things like that, and it was the year 3 or 4 years behind the guys in industry learning all that kind of stuff. They didn't teach you about talking to clients,
right?
All those sorts of things. Those are the things they didn't really think that they needed to teach them. Oh, you learn that when you get out on the job.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is when from the other point of view, you're on the job looking to hire. Oh, you've only learnt this, and you've learnt that for 6 weeks, and that for another 6 weeks, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And then there's another 500 people just like that.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I suppose that's the fade in. That's the beautiful part of a fade in, which is not what's happening generally. And you can say this for any industry, I imagine. Which is, you get taught something and then it stops because you do your finals, you get a funny hat, you walk down the street, you throw it in the air, and that's it. They never see you
then
again.
You're like, okay, well, see you.
Now I have to get a job, and then you have to go and get a job, and it's a massive wall, and you stop. As opposed to you fade from university into. And I suppose summer tech is actually a classic example of actually being that phase.
It's fantastic for that. That's exactly what happened for me. Is I actually dropped uni full time because I was like, I want a job. This pays money.
Yeah,
I actually have money. And I did the uni thing part time. Why would I do it not part time when I actually am learning things?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Summer of Tech is amazing for that. Like I can't believe, though. I mean, the students that get to do that are very lucky in that regard because that didn't exist when I was studying. Like, there was no all-around experience program, and I mean Xero and TradeMe and all that are very generous in that regard as well. They hired 5 to 10 graduates last year, I think, for that. So
and to be fair, I mean, and we talk about startups, and even not the startups, the zeros. I know the biggest startups, the biggest survivors. When will they stop being called a startup? And the fronds, and also, but Kiwi Bank and a lot of the government agencies we're in Wellington, they are now getting a part of and much more active in the Summer of Tech. And it's gone to Auckland now as well, which is a fantastic thing. It's a pilot this year, I understand. But
oh, right, yes, that is new, I remember.
Yes. It's the first time they've been asked a lot of times, and they've gone, we live in Wellington, why would we do that? But they're now doing a pilot in Auckland, which I think will be fantastic for, mainly, I believe, will be fantastic for the students. And going back to what I said before, where I think, a Venn becomes massive potentially, or it could be anybody else, who knows, then they're going to start crying out for these skills, and then if you've got a Summer Tech guy,
difficult to find because people naturally gravitate to San Francisco. That's where all the startups are. It's actually, I mean, there's a lot of startups there, but it's not that cool. It's a little bit wanky. Well, I mean, everybody has
all
their
these Aucklanders and Hamiltonians listening to this thing,
we went to. I was just visiting there just for a holiday, and we went to see Yammer headquarters just to see what it's like. And they're a Microsoft company now, so they're kind of a startup, kind of not. You know, they're in that kind of weird moment. But we were getting a tour, and I'm like, he's like, oh, everything in the cafeteria is free. Why don't you take something? And I'm like, what do you mean? And you walk in there, and it's just lined with these fridges. Every drink you can imagine, every drink you can imagine in a supermarket is there free. You just walk in and take it. And they're like, he was saying, if you don't offer that, people might not work for you. It's as simple as that. And so everybody's doing all these things. Oh, you get free gym access, you get free this, free that.
And that becomes company culture.
Right, and it's good because we don't have that here yet, which I like. Like, okay, we have slides.
We have slides. Upgraded slides.
Much to Rod's disgust. He doesn't have a slide
When it becomes a water slide, then you wonder what the hell's going on.
Well, then it'll be the battle of the slides.
Yeah.
Oh, do you not have a water slide?
Yeah, with Coke going down it. No, you don't have that.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem. So I like that we don't have that here yet. People are a lot more humble to some extent about.
That's good.
Or real, even.
Yeah.
As in, it doesn't really matter. It's right. I'm going to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just pop down the road and buy a Coke. I'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll survive.
I think the flexibility stuff's more important than, hey, I get cool stuff at work.
Yeah.
I can go in and out when I like, that kind of stuff.
Work with a team that's real. They don't mind if it's not more about. It's less about having bums on seats for 40 hours than it is doing the work.
Getting the outcomes.
So that's quite cool. Yeah.
So you're a bit of a gadget man.
Yep.
Show us the gadget on your arm.
Oh,
there's a bit of mean. There's a bit of mean out that wants to see this. This could become the most boring part of the podcast, which may never.
Yeah, there's no way to show these people that thing.
Oh, we have to get a photograph. Not of that, sorry, but of you.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I just remembered that. God, we keep saying we'll get photographs of all the interviews in the interview, and then a day later we go,
Have a play. Maybe this is the part where you cut all the.
Yeah. Well, I get to see your bits.
So right now, Mike is scrolling through our bullshit little phone.
What I'm wearing, just to be clear, is a smartwatch. It's the. I was at Google I/O last month, and they gave out free smartwatches running Android to everybody. So the interface works. So swiping left dismisses, swiping down. No, that's fine. They were boring alerts anyway. We just swiped a bunch of stuff away. Swiping up and down is like
remember to take medicine.
And then, so swiping up and down is different cards, so it's both notifications and Google Now. That one's a funny one because it's broken. It's supposed to be a music player, but there's nothing on it. It won't do anything.
So which one did you opt for? You got a choice, right?
Yeah, so this is the Galaxy Gear Live. So this one I liked because it actually looked a bit nicer on your wrist. The other one was plastic and quite garish, like it just kind of sat up.
The LG?
Yeah, the LG. So it's quite nice, but you can say stuff like, "Okay, Google, what's the weather in Vancouver today?"
That's magic.
It never works for demos, though. It usually transcribes in real time too, but
that's all good.
It's doing something.
Oh, there we go. The internet just woke up on my phone, so that'll be why.
Oh, that's right. I tear this to the phone. Right?
Yeah. I have a little bit of trouble with it. In
I know
3D,
LG used to make the phone.
3G here.
Watches that.
So try that. Try that again.
Just ring the phone.
Okay, Google.
You've got it.
Who is Owen Williams?
Hold on.
No, it's doing it.
Try from the no. Try from the start. Oh, there you go. It even shows you a text from my phone. Like it's pretty awesome. You can reply with your voice, all that kind of stuff.
I won't.
So how often do you find yourself using this over reaching in the pocket?
Okay, Google.
Oh, okay, Google.
Oh, you got it.
So, who is Owen Williams?
It's not going to work. Let me try.
Get the grey screen of death from Google.
Got the circly ball of death.
Let's just make sure. So obviously, because they're a little bit early.
So it's got no Wi-Fi in it.
No, it's just Bluetooth to your phone. Okay, Google. What's the weather? No, it's really having a trouble. It's funny because I walk down the street and I'll be like, I wonder what the temperature is right now, and I'll ask it. No problem. But as soon as I show people this thing, let's try this again. So
maybe it only works when you're on the wrist and
we've done okay. We've gone Google Now, that's right.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool on here.
I'm a Google man.
I'll show you. Let's reboot it, and we'll see. I'm just rebooting my watch.
So that's a new phrase, isn't it?
Yep.
So in 3 years' time, those poor internships at Frond will be
troubleshooting watches.
Have you rebooted your watch? I can't see anything. Okay, turn your glass on and off.
Exactly.
I haven't got my reports.
Okay. Let's see.
Is the implant in properly?
That's right. Jiggle your ear and see if that. There you go. Now you're on. There you go.
Hold your finger there now for 5 minutes.
Let's see.
Let it reboot.
Oh, see,
what's the weather?
Shit, I can see out the window.
It's not going to do it.
That's the thing with even Skype, which is meant to be the one that works all the time.
Yeah.
I still spend 5 minutes with my parents going, "Can you hear me? Can you see me?" Yeah. And you see me, can you hear me?
Turn your volume up.
Yeah.
For all our advances,
It's 1930s phones. That's what it is. Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. It actually told me it was disconnected. One more time. Let's try this.
Hey,
One
so
last
that's
time.
the notification I haven't seen.
Yeah,
I'm disconnected.
Okay, Google. Oh, I just woke up the phone as well. Okay, hold on now.
It's be hard to demo when the thing's listening. Both things are listening.
Okay, Google.
My phone is going off here big time.
What's the weather in Wellington?
What?
Funny.
Shit.
No, tech demo's not working. So yeah, usually what it does is it transcribes in real time. Yeah, just your voice right there. It works on a noisy street. It's pretty impressive. You can also kind of run apps on this thing if I can get it to.
So the difference there is there's nothing on it that's specifically amazing. Like Google Now is the same.
So it's
all star, but
you can get it's like a Fitbit.
But you can get Fitbits. There's nothing amazing. However,
the combination of things
on your wrist.
Yes. that's the problem with Google now. Is you're sitting there and I'm like, oh, let me just look at my predictive alerts.
Yeah.
Why would I look at them? It's on your wrist. You're like, oh, 5 minutes to go home if I go now. Otherwise, 20 minutes in traffic if I don't go right now. So that's quite compelling. I like that.
Yeah.
I also like just I just wrote a review the other day about this, and I was kind of saying, I like the fact that you can be on the offensive with your notifications on here. So during the day, instead of pulling out my phone to check the time and all the different things, I go, oh yeah, I don't need to reply to that text, swipe away. I don't need to reply to that tweet, swipe away, and it syncs it with your phone, so that's also gone on there.
Yeah.
And that way, because I get a lot of emails and tweets and all sorts of stuff, so clearing them out during the day means that when it gets to 6 o'clock and I actually have time to review them, I'm like, okay, which ones should I actually deal with?
Yeah.
So it's like a triage tool.
Yeah, I like it. And then, I mean, the step stuff is kind of cute, and you can ask it anything. It was quite useful overseas, like, how much is $1 US in New Zealand dollars? Kind of thing.
How much am I being ripped off?
Yeah.
for this local brand.
It tells you the time back home and all that kind of interesting stuff as well. So it's quite good for trip. Oh, hey, it's working. Okay, I can show you now. Okay, Google.
This is compelling
What's
audio.
the weather in Wellington? Oh, there you go. I've even picked up compelling.
Well, that's the thing that Leo Laporte
still
talks about.
listen to you too.
Leo Laporte talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because when it first came out, he just went, hey, shh, be quiet.
Yeah.
Listen. And he went, what? He said, hang on, something just, what's that noise? And everyone went quiet and he went, okay, Google. And he went, they could hear bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
bing. And Jeff Jarvis went, oh shit, my phone.
This is what actually happened to me.
That's what happened to your phone just now.
Yeah. At Google I/O, they gave out the watches on the morning, and all the press people were in the room trying to desperately get them set up and rah. And I just sat there and I was trying to get mine to go, and I was like, okay, Google, in the middle of the room, and I hear bloop, bloop, bloop all around me. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I love the
next
future.
thing must be voice syncing.
So they do have voice recognition now. So the watch doesn't pick up on it yet, but the phone does. So if you tried to do it with my phone, it wouldn't work.
Yes.
But with my watch, it would.
No, you're not my daddy.
Who's your daddy, Raj? Who's your daddy?
So it's pretty
Good
cool.
Lord.
I'm waiting for the Moto 360
That
around.
looks cool, eh?
Well, that's the one that everyone went,
Well, they're giving them out for free. So I'm like, well, I don't.
Well, when you're done with that.
Well, now you know how it happens and what works, what's annoying.
Yeah, so it's I actually quite like this one though. So
what do you find yourself using it the most for? Is it
notifications?
Yep.
It is actually quite useful for sending a text. So if I was like, okay, Google, send a text to Fem, it works. Okay, what's up? Send a text to her saying okay, but you get you get the idea. Like it's quite good.
It's still smoother than Surrey.
And the range is ridiculous on that. I was at the gym yesterday. I left my phone in the locker downstairs, and I was upstairs because I just was wearing the watch. I just wear a watch. And I was like, I just got a notification. My phone is
Wow.
Where's my phone? And it's actually quite cool for that kind of thing. So
actually, that's one cool trick. If it could find your phone.
Yeah, it can. It can. It makes your phone scream if you push a button.
So that's another good reason to have something on.
Yeah.
I actually,
2 days after I got it, we were in the airport, and it actually fell off because the wrist strap isn't very good. I guess I had it on a bit loose, and I walked off without it, and I lost it. And ever since then, I've had this thing installed that screams when you when you walk away. So
that's cool.
It's pretty sweet.
So
what's next?
Your journalism talks about tech from a consumer point of view?
Yep. Pretty much.
And you're working in the startup-y, doing it... Marketing part, I suppose.
Yeah.
The connection between consumer tech and startup developer tools, developer world view, is that getting closer, do you reckon?
I think slowly. It's taking a while. It's hard. It's still different selling to consumers than it is to normal to developers. Sorry, to normal people.
I heard that.
normal people are a different category entirely. Yeah.
I mean, I think selling to developers is actually quite difficult still because they're really fickle. But in a good way. Like as somebody who builds my own stuff in my spare time, I won't trust something until I know that it's been around for a while or whatever. I guess they're slowly aligning, but not as fast as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
it's still very different audiences because with the consumer, you have to talk in a way that they'll understand. Like, this phone is really fast and it doesn't lag and like it has a really good camera. And to a developer, you'd probably say, this phone has a quad-core Exynos processor. Like,
more spec
that,
sheet.
Yeah, they don't want to know what it can do. They just want to know what is it, what guts it has, and what does it. What's it capable of.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing right now. But maybe as consumers become more. Well, I mean, I can imagine one day everybody should be able to learn to code a little bit.
I suspect it'll go the other way.
You reckon it'll go the other way, completely illiterate?
Absolutely.
Look how amazing the phone and watch thing is. It takes a lot of ease and smarts out of things you do day to day.
Yep.
So maybe you're right.
So maybe people just don't care. They just use
it tells you when to get on the train. Will you remember anymore?
Even to the point where back in the day when I was a coder, and this is a long time ago, that was
Visual Basic. Yeah.
That was before that thing. That was all grunty, done by hand.
Absolutely.
There was none of this SDK malarkey.
No autocomplete.
None of yeah, exactly. Even in the editor, they will actually tell you indent and code and colours. None of that. So as more of that comes in, there's more and more of the computers sort of underneath platforming you and you're holding you up.
I actually think about this a lot. Like 50 years from now, will people know how it works? Like who will run it?
Yes.
Like who's going to build the apps when it just works?
Oh, by then, it's the machines that'll be building the machines that build the apps, right?
You'll come up with an app idea and you'll be like, photos that self-destruct, and the computer will be like, okay, here's Snapchat. It'll just build it for you.
Yeah. Well, remember Pipes? Do you remember Yahoo Pipes?
Yep. Still floating around.
It's still going.
Yep.
Is it really?
I use it a little bit.
Wow. Do you use Pipes?
No.
Pipes is...
I can't remember what it is.
An example. Gosh, it's blooming old.
Yeah.
It's not that Windows screen
2002.
No,
Kinda.
2002.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you could take an RSS feed and then stuff it through some processing that would strip out stuff, bring it something else in, match up the keywords, bring in the photos, and then give you an RSS feed that was based on all that.
And it was free.
And it was free. And it was all pipes. So it was all about pipes coming in and processing. And it was really powerful. Most people use it to strip out the RSS. No, it's still around.
Yeah, it's still around. I used it a little bit for... this is a Twitter secret. I'm going to let you in on. I have a couple of bots running on my feed. No, I don't actually. I just have one that auto tweets stuff from Apple's RSS feed because every time Apple makes a press release, people actually care. It turns out. And so I use Yahoo Pipes to grab a picture that's related to that, jam it in and tweet it. So stuff like that. But that way, you're the person down to the second with the Apple press release.
That's how you get your...
That's how you get 5,000 people.
Yeah, no, it's right.
So that process, I mean, that's 12 years old.
Yep.
I can't believe that. And it's still going.
Yep.
That ability to be out for... It's not quite anyone. I wouldn't give that to my wife and say, off you go. But, there's no reason why we can get to that point.
Well, if you look at if this, then that, there's that's fascinating. I mean, you go, if I have a new photo, save it in Dropbox. And why would you need to code after that? It's an interesting kind of world we live in.
Well, there was a time when no one knew how to drive, right? So eventually they all know how to drive, almost.
True.
So eventually, in about 400 years, everyone will have a watch.
Well, yeah,
that's very true.
It could go either way because more and more people are being interested in computing. I mean, there was an analogy I read recently, which was like IT, programmers, the auto industry worker of our generation. It's like you saw what happened to the auto industry. It's like really, it boomed. Everybody was working in the auto industry, and then they figured out how to automate it, and the auto industry went back down. And
fascinating.
It could go the same way.
The irony is it'll be the industry that figures out how to do that and makes themselves redundant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're always probably going to need a human element to create that, unless you've figured out how to make an AI. But
I hope there's always a human involved because you never know. Everyone's seen Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. So it could head more towards that way. It's hard to say at the moment. Like we've never had this happen before. But I thought it was an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, where can we find you?
Yep.
Before we do that, Can you give us a lowdown on Hoist and what it does?
So we do a lot of things. No, so we
niche.
Yeah, we literally just shared on late last week our kind of new strategy. And it's funny we talked about if this and that because it's kind of like that, but for developers. So what we're going after is these. On the internet at the moment, it's quite hard to hook up your app to somebody else's app in a really deep way and then build your app off the bottom of that. So like say you want to get data from Xero and you want it to be piped into your application whenever something happens, but you want to run custom code to clean up what they're giving you and run some tasks and all that kind of stuff. You couldn't do that with if this and then that. It's just plug it into there and put it there. So what we're doing is we're going to make it really easy to get connected to an API. So remove the complicated authentication stuff that developers go through, one line of code kind of thing. And then we're going to go and make it so that you can connect to the Xero API, run a bit of code in between their API and your API that manages your calls, queuing and all that kind of stuff, so you don't have to develop a system for that. And then you can run code whenever an event is fired. So say, for example, again, a new invoice in Xero happens, we would run your code when that happens and then plop it into your app. So the idea is that we're the integration layer with other companies.
That's cool.
So it's like a if this and that or Zapier for integrations that actually want to do stuff when something happens.
Deep in, yes.
So that's the kind of new angle, and that's we have two products now. So that's Hoist Connect, which is the connecting to cloud APIs easier. So we want to make the whole API development process easier. Is pretty much the easiest way to explain it. And then we've also got our previous product, which will still live on as Hoist Foundation, which is a platform as a service. Database layer, user authentication layer, that kind of thing. So we're doing this new thing.
Awesome.
It looks much better.
That's very cool. Connecting the services.
Well, it's a big space. I mean, if you look at all the APIs, nobody's really meshing it yet. So we'll see.
Bridging. We talked about that Waveadept for a long time. I said the next thing that people are going to come to that's going to see the opportunity is bridging between all these places.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all islands of data. But what if you wanted to make a Xero app that tweets your invoices, for example? But only bits of your invoice. So we could do that. We could clean up the data and all that kind of thing.
So currently, obviously, history means that Xero is the one you know the deepest and the most.
Probably
everything and everything else at the moment.
We're looking at launch partners. We don't know yet.
Okay.
So we only announced it on Friday, but it's kind of something we're building at the moment.
Cool.
So you can play with an early version of Xero's thing there, and there's a couple of other ones like Facebook and what was something else I can't remember. But so we'll add them more over time. But the idea is to go for depth as opposed to just like here's 3 things you can do with this API.
No, that's awesome. And so developers will be able to find that at
hoistapps.com.
There we go. And where will they find you?
So I'm in lots of places. So the best place is at OW on Twitter, the shortest username you'll probably follow.
We're going to ask that story, by the way, in a minute.
Owens.co.nz. OWENED.co.nz.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then go on and give us that story.
Okay, real quick.
Twitter, OW.
So the story is, I didn't have... Well, you can get one-letter Twitter usernames. I should have taken one of those. So I didn't start out Twitter life as at OW. I started as something else. I have a friend that moved to work at Twitter from Wellington, who I knew when he moved over there. And a couple of years after he moved to Twitter, I was like, oh, hey, man... I've got my eye on this username. Like, do you guys ever release usernames? Like, is it a thing? Because, Twitter is famous for having all these dead accounts that you can't get. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. As long as it's been inactive for, I think, 18 months or 12 months or something, we can release it as long as you know somebody. And I was like, okay. And overnight, I had the account. Like, awesome. I woke up the next day and, surprise, I have a OW. So it was really cool. Unfortunately, because I know some people will contact me, because every time I tell that story, they actually changed their policies. So you can't do that anymore because Twitter's too big.
Yes.
But then I got my little blue tick as well eventually. So that's
It's not what you know, so you know, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I might just take a leaf out of his book and just ring the CEO.
Yeah, just call up. Who's running Twitter these days?
Is the Stone still there?
It's not. No.
Dick Khushal, is it? I can't remember.
Oh, good luck with that one, mate.
Yeah.
You think Roger is scary?
Jeez. Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you so much.
This has been great.
It's been fantastic.
Appreciate your time.
You didn't talk about your newsletter.
Oh, I didn't.
Come on.
I run a super awesome newsletter. No,
Yes,
just
it
real
is.
quick.
It is really good.
Thank you. I came up with the idea to run a kind of tech newsletter aimed at people who aren't in tech, I guess was kind of the angle. Is a lot of the stuff that we talk about on blogs and all this different stuff, the Nexweb and the Verge, is like assuming that the audience has some degree of knowledge about whatever we're talking about. But what I wanted to do is these...
Yep. I'm up for another round.
Yep.
Oh, I've got to go back to work.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yep,
you guys go.
we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, what do we have?
That was a IPA.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
2 of those or 3?
It's two. I've got to go.
Two.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. I'll go back to where
We
I
might
was.
have to start that again.
Yeah, okay.
You can edit it
I'll
out.
start the charge thing
Yeah.
again. Okay. I guess I came up with the idea of having a tech newsletter for people who aren't in tech. I wanted to make it so that they could not have to work to find the information, like not have to look for it online. Like where do I go? There's so much clickbait, rah. Didn't want a particular bias or anything. I just wanted to have something that's really clean. It's like these are the top 6 or 20. I don't know how many stories there are every week. Stories from this week. Here's some really cool stuff I saw online. Here's some funny tweets I saw in my feed. That kind of thing. And I just send it out on a weekly basis just to...
So who's it aimed at? Because I find it fascinating,
Yeah,
but I
it's-
work in tech.
yeah,
So it's not
it's-
really aimed at me or
No,
that?
it is aimed at you. It's aimed at people who aren't sitting on the RSS feeds all day like I am.
Okay.
I guess is the argument. Like, because
Yeah,
if you were,
tech,
yeah,
or-
it's still like if you were in tech, that's fine. It's aimed at a consumer. It's aimed at somebody who works in tech. They're just not sitting on the Verge looking
Yes.
at news, or
Get it.
they're not up with the play all
Yeah.
day. So it's kind of the roundup of the best of this week.
Perfect.
All that different stuff. You can also find that on my Twitter. It's right there.
I'll say, how do people join up? Because I would recommend they do, because it is
Yeah,
an
it's-
excellent.
It's fun to write it. I like it's it's interesting being able to send an email to people because it's quite personal.
Yes.
So
So how do they find it?
Twitter is the easiest way probably. So if you go at OW, it's just in my bio.
Oh, okay.
There's,
So it's a link in your
called
about
Charged,
you
right?
type.
Yeah, explaining the URL is impossible, so
Okay,
I
fair
won't even
enough.
attempt it. So yeah, on Twitter.
If in doubt, go to Twitter and find out. Thank you so much, Owen.
Thank you.
Fascinating.
That was a fun interview. We even had a sneak peek at his freebie smartwatch he got from Google I.O., which didn't actually perform exactly as we expected.
It didn't do it.
Be sure to check out his weekly newsletter, though. You can find it on his site via owens.co.nz.
Excellent. Quick call to action this week. It's all to the men out there. Look hard and look long about how you view your female team members and others in the tech world. And to be fair, the only way to do this is actually go and talk to some females who work in tech and find out what it's like for them. So your mission this week is to do that.
To understand the female psyche within the tech world.
Yes.
Interesting. Special shout outs this week to Nick, who is Nix on Twitter, NIKZ, and Jamie Wilson, who is @_Jamie Wilson with 1L on Twitter, for the feedback on the show this week. Feedback's always encouraged and welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. And next week, we're going to have Phil Wheeler and Claire Curran talking about the Dunedin ICT tech scene. Now, Claire isn't going to be talking about the election or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not on this particular interview. She will be doing that later. And I know we've already cracked into them, haven't we, Raj?
Yes, I've cracked into them. I've already done Gareth Hughes and went and saw him last week.
Excellent. So we're now starting to...
I've got a bit of a momentum going now.
We're recording our election specials, and they'll be coming out probably the week or so before the election. But next week, will be Phil and Claire talking about the Dunedin ICT tech scene. It's a cracker of an interview. As always, don't take our jibber-jabber as gospel. Get all the links to the stories we reference in our show notes. All the notes are in one place. They're linked from the #MePodcast post when we go live on Tuesday, or just simply Google Access Granted Show Notes.
And you can look for us on Twitter. I'm at NZRaj. Mike is at Miramar Mike. Use our podcast hashtag #AccessGranted and email us on accessgranted@me.co.nz. And for all the other hashtag goodness, such as the Twitter link, Facebook page, news and prizes, and more, go to #me.co.nz.
Thanks for your time. See you next Tuesday with the Kiwi Tech News for those who make our computers do what they do. Kakite and all.
Yeah, that wasn't that hard, was it?
No.
Managed to do it alright. Had a few gaffes. That's alright. We're getting there. Episode 13 will rock.